Hey fellow classic comic collectors, as always I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm going to have a short video where I do something a little unusual. I'm going to be reviewing something that I recently read. Now, for those of you who saw my last video, which was about my trip to California where I visited 8 comic book stores, one of the comic stores I visited was not represented in that video. And the reason for that is that the main thing that I bought at that store was most of a run of the recent series Danger Street, written by Tom King from DC Comics. Now, I say most of it, they didn't have all 12 issues. It was a 12-issue maxi series. They didn't have all of them. They had 8 issues. And I started reading it. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to skip the ones I'm missing. Because they had like the last 6 issues, I think. I think they had issues 7 through 12, and then they had a couple of the early ones. So it's kind of missing a little bit of the middle, right? So I was like, I don't feel like tracking down these 4 random issues that I'm missing. I just want to read what I had, particularly since I was stuck in a hotel room. The premise of Danger Street, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, and I should say right now, there's going to be a bunch of spoilers for Danger Street here. So now's the time to watch all of my other videos instead of this one if you don't want spoilers. But basically, the high concept of this, which is the whole reason I was excited to read it, is that Danger Street was a series that was taking all of the characters from the 1970s series first issue special from DC, which ran 13 issues, and having all of those characters come together in this one story. So the concept between first issue special when it came out was basically they had this brilliant idea where they're like, the first issues sell better than the rest of the issues afterwards. So we're going to do a series where every issue is the first issue of a new series. And it was sort of a new take, a minor twist on the old tryout book stuff like they used to do in like Showcase, right? And so they had a bunch of, these new concepts. They also brought back a few older series that they thought might be time to revive them. And overall, it wasn't much of a success. They did 13 issues. Only one ongoing series came out of that. Warlord, who first appeared in issue 8, is the only character in that got their own series from it. But it's a really interesting series. There's a bunch of Jack Kirby stuff here. Again, I'm getting a bit of a digression here, but Kirby at the time was sort of still under an exclusive DC contract, and that was a contract where he would be giving them X amount of pages every month, but they no longer wanted him working on any of their books. So they were sort of like just running out his contract he was just doing whatever he wanted. And so he was giving them these books that they didn't really want, and so they just burned off a bunch of them in first issue specials. So things like Atlas, his take on the Manhunters, and Dingbats of Danger Street. There's some cool, late sort of end of the DC era Kirby work there that's fun and weird and quirky and very Kirby. And there's a bunch of other, interesting and weird ideas. So basically, Danger Street, which came out just a couple years ago here from DC, was Tom King, who is this acclaimed modern writer who I haven't read any of his stuff, but I've heard lots of good things about him, taking all of the characters from first issue special and doing one 12-issue saga, bringing them all together. And as a fan of those characters and that series, I was like, I'm really interested to see how this goes. And the answer was, it sucked. That's the review. The end. Now, I'm going to go into a little more detail, but it was really pretentious. In particular, I'm going to get to one part that I just about really, I'd already given up on the series, but I really gave up. But it was very pretentious and didn't like any of it, really. But more than that, I didn't really get what he was trying to do. Like, I didn't understand what he was trying to say. Obviously, the concept is just, let's bring all the characters together, right? But then you have to tell a story with it. And the story he was telling was one that, I don't know, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it was basically the new gods were involved because the new gods appeared in the last issue of first issue special number 13. And it was something where like they were having their version of Ragnarok, and the world is going to end. And at the beginning of the first, in the first issue, Atlas, who was in first issue special number 1, has some sort of role with the new gods where he's holding up the world or something. And he it basically gets shot. He gets killed. Um, Shot's not quite the right word, but he's strangely enough he's having a confrontation with the dingbats of Danger Street, and he accidentally kills one of them or something like, and then. Sorry, I read this a couple weeks ago now, and it's already vanishing from my brain because I'm actively trying to scrub it. But basically, Atlas accidentally kills one of the dingbats of Danger Street, and then thinking that he's a supervillain because he just did that. Basically, Starman sort of freaks out. This is the Blue Starman, the 1970s Starman, and kills him. And in the process of this, Metamorpho is there, and he gets blasted into oblivion as well. So just a big body count right here in the first issue. And then what the story's kind of about is basically the new gods realize that like there's someone who can replace Atlas. And keep the sky from falling, as they keep saying, and basically prevent Ragnarok and the end of the universe, whatever. And so they're trying to find this person. It turns out it was the member of the Dingbats of Danger Street who was killed. Everybody in the story is trying to find Dr. Fate's helmet, because Dr. Fate's helmet can bring people back to life, but it can also do basically anything you want it to do. Different people want it for different reasons. But ultimately what ends up happening is a bunch of the characters get killed along the way in some really, I don't want to say stupid ways, but stupid ways in the sense of like the established characters and a superhero universe, because it's basically, characters that like the Creeper, an established superhero, basically just getting shot. It's just like, so it's done in a very real, it's like he's trying to do like this hyper realism inside of a story that is patently not realistic in any possible way. But basically Lady Cop just shoots Creeper, she shoots Warlord, they both die. And then at the end they use Dr. Fate's helmet to bring back to life Warlord and Creeper, I think. And the guy from Dingbats of Danger Street, and Metamorpho gets brought back as well. Several other characters don't get brought back because there's a whole thing where like while the new gods are doing this, the green team, there's a guy on the green team who's sort of been like possessed by a mother box or something. I don't know what his deal is exactly, but he's got assassins, and he's basically murdering all the other members of the green team. And so there's this whole other plot that barely connects to anything, but it involves the Manhunter is trying to hunt this kid down from the green team and kill him. And then the guy from the green team is hired codename Assassin as his bodyguard. He also has the Creeper working for him. And ultimately what happens is that like there's this one issue, I think it's maybe issue 9, where the entire issue is a confrontation between Manhunter and codename Assassin, where they're fighting on a rooftop and having this incredibly pretentious and unbelievably tedious just sort of conversation. And it sucks so bad. And again, they do this sort of like hyper realistic thing where after this long conversation and all this fighting and everything, one of them basically just like deactivates the other guy's like gravity boots or something, and he just falls off the building and dies. It was unbearable to read, but also like the whole point of I would have thought of doing something like this is like because there's no reason to bring back the characters from first issue special, and certainly not in one story together, unless it's like a love letter to those characters. Like if you, because there's just no reason to do it, and yet it really didn't feel like a love letter at all. It felt like the opposite of that. Because most of the characters came across as complete idiots and losers. Like it, Metamorpho, Starman, and Warlord, the three of them are trying to get Dr. Fate's helmet because they think that if they get it and bring it to the Justice League, they'll be let into the Justice League because they're basically complete losers that all the real superheroes laugh at. And I hated that. Even though I can't stand Metamorpho, I absolutely hated that. Plus, Metamorpho is actually a member of the Justice League, so that didn't make sense to me. But um, he just treats them like complete losers. They all go out like total chumps, basically. Lady Cop is probably the most competent in a way in the series. She's sort of the center of the series in a lot of ways, but at the end, she just like she's gets in an argument with Creeper, who sort of attacks her a little bit. Um, he basically she doesn't know he's Creeper, and then he turns into Creeper and is like, "You got to do this thing," and so she just like, and he's a little bit aggressive because he's a nut job. She shoots him dead, and then Warlord just comes in the room to see what's happening, and she kills him too. Just like, and so she doesn't seem very competent either because she's a police officer, and she just is like, "Oh, there's a guy in the room," and just blasts him before she even has any idea what the situation is. So everybody comes across like an idiot. There's a whole thing with the New Gods and Dark Side and the High Father and stuff that and Orion and all of that stuff. They all seem like idiots. Um, Obviously, the Dingbats of Danger Street seem like a bunch like they're written like they're just swearing all the time, and they're just like sort of street rat like tool bags. And the Green Team are just you barely get to see any of them because the one guy's murdering all of them. But the guy that's murders the other ones, he's also a complete tool. So like, and Dr. Fate doesn't actually appear in it. His helmet is the MacGuffin, but his helmet is also the narrating the story. Like I say, Atlas dies in the first issue. He basically comes through a portal and is yelling about the skies falling because it's the end of the world for him, and he gets killed like 2 pages later. So like, um, oh my gosh. So this video's been a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but the upshot is it's incredibly pretentious, tedious twaddle that basically poops all over the characters, and I don't know why it exists. Like all of that I could forgive if I understood what the point was of the story, because sometimes you have to do things when you're writing a story, right, to get whatever the message is across. But I don't understand what the message was supposed to be. And It was a dumpster fire on every level. So when I came home from California, rather than have the weight of those 8 issues weighing down my suitcase, I left them in the lobby of the hotel for someone to find. And also then I'm presumably be disappointed by at some point in the future. So I don't do that very often. But it was like I did not want those comics in my collection. Also, I only had 8 of the 12 issues, so it's not like I didn't feel comfortable giving them away. Plus, I wouldn't subject any of you to that. And I couldn't really sell them like on eBay because I didn't have the full set. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to leave them on this table. So that's my review of Danger Street. It was poop. If you're a fan of any of the characters in those 13 issues of first issue special, don't read it, because you're going to end up at best just being confused and at worst just cursing your life choices for just setting that amount of your life on fire. It's time you'll never get back. Now, Some of you may have liked it. I don't know. If anybody out there has a dissenting opinion, please comment down below and explain to me why you liked it or why you thought it was good. Maybe you didn't like it, but you still thought it was good. Or maybe you thought it was crappy, but you liked it anyway. I would love to know why. Because, wow. Very rarely have I disliked a comic as much as I disliked Danger Street. Whatever you thought of it, let me know down below. I'll see you next time.